What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Johnny K Picks. And in this video, I'll be going over my full card picks and predictions, along with some bets that I like for each fight for UFC 284 or UFC Perth Makhachev versus Volkanovski. Now, first things first, guys, please hit that like button for me. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new, or if you haven't yet, just go ahead and hit the subscribe button. It's free for you. Go ahead and do that. And don't forget to turn on the notifications so you don't miss out on any new videos that I put out or live streams that we do this week. And also go ahead and comment below on some of your favorite fights this week, some of your favorite fighters, your locks of the week, if you want to say, or even underdogs. So let's start doing that too as well. So UFC Vegas 68. It was last night, and I'll go ahead and say it was pretty okay card. For my picks, I ended up going 6, 4, and 1. And for my bets, I ended up losing minus 1.68 units. So the cold streak still continues for me, unfortunately, but some of those fighters that I picked that I was very confident in just kind of didn't show up, if you want to say. And we'll go over all the fights here, and we'll get to 284 fights just in a moment here. So I want to go over all these fights real quick like I usually do. So we will start with the first one. Tatsuro Taira versus Jesus Aguilar. Taira is a monster, guys. He made it look very easy, and I was almost questioning why he was a minus 1,100 favorite, but we know why he is an 1,100 favorite against him now, because that was amazing work. Got it done quick, first round, and got that triangle armbar. Next fight was Park versus Tululian. Again, he was a pretty decent sized favorite, and that could have been justified going the other way a little bit, and he looked like he was a minus 1,100 favorite because he got those takedowns like I thought he was going to do. He had the clear advantage on the mat, and you saw that early, and Tululian had nothing for him, and Park got that rear naked choke in the first round too, so good win from him. Park versus Choi, that was a pretty decent fight. I thought Choi was actually winning rounds 1 and 2, and then Park came out of nowhere in the third round and started pushing the pace a little bit and got that rear naked choke, and so good win for him. Good thing he did get that finish, because if it would have went to the judges' scorecards, I think it might have went to Choi, but hey, good win. Nakamura versus Kazama. Nakamura is legit. His striking is great. He's got great power in his hands. We didn't really get to see his wrestling all that much because it only lasted 33 seconds in the first round. So good win from him. And I'm very excited to see who he fights next. I'll tell you that. Lee versus Yi. This could be a debatable fight. It was very close, split decision. I thought it was going to be a split too, but I really thought Yi won that fight. I'll go ahead and say it. But like I said, not a robbery or anything. I knew Yi was going to try to use his grappling, and he did the whole fight. Yi couldn't really strike with him. And when he did get some room, he landed some good shots. But I just didn't think it was enough to sway a win, if you want to say, through Yi's control time and takedowns and stuff. But I mean, you could look at it on the other side. He didn't really do a lot of damage either. So close fight, went to split decision. I could have saw Yi win that fight, but I'm not too mad by any means. Jubilee versus Jekka. That was a pretty decent fight here. But once Jubilee started getting that grappling and wrestling going, it was Jekka could not do anything. Jekka was doing good on the feet with those calf kicks and low kicks, landed some decent strikes as well. But man, his wrestling is just Jubilee's wrestling is just a lot better than Sergey. So very good win from him. Adam Fugit versus Kinoshita. This was the first really big underdog of the night to hit. Fugit, honestly, I thought he was slowing down. I didn't think he was going to be able to get those takedowns, and he did in the first round, and Kinoshita had no answer to get up or anything like that. So good win from Fugit. I knew he was going to have the grappling advantage. I just didn't think he was going to get to the mat that easy, and I really didn't think he was going to look that great on the mat too. So very good win from Fugit. I still think Kinoshita is good, but he needs to work on that takedown defense and grappling for sure. Choi versus Nelson. Controversial headbutt of the night, went to draw because of that. I thought Choi did enough. I didn't think that was the greatest point deduction by Chris Tognoni. So it is what it is. Judges and refs, this card were a little crazy. So it is what it is. Draws are lame. I'll admit it, but it is a draw. Tybura versus Ivanov. I had Tybura here by decision for a bet. I thought he was going to win. First couple rounds were dicey, though, but he clearly won round 3 and started using his grappling. And I think he had like 4 minutes and 55 seconds of control time in the third round. So I gave him the win. I thought he won 29-28 for sure. 30-27 was a bit of a stretch, but definitely 29-28. Devin Clark versus Jung. Bad bet of the night here. I was very confident in Jung here. Clark came out with a very good game plan, and he did what he needed to do was wrestle, and he did. And Jung just couldn't really get a striking going. He was the one trying to grapple as well because he was really tired and looked like Clark had more in the gas in the tank. So Clark won that one. I don't know about 30-27 for 3 judges. So to me, I thought that was a little crazy, but definitely I thought Clark did win. Good win from him. I just didn't think he was going to look that good, or maybe I just didn't think Jung was going to look that bad. Spivak versus Derek Lewis in the main event. Spivak did exactly what I thought he was going to do and what he needed to do to win that fight. Maybe not to that degree, but I thought maybe it would have went into the second round at least. But man, he got 5 or 6 takedowns. Derek Lewis tried to get back up each time, but man, each time you could tell he was struggling. And I was like, he's going to quit after this takedown. And then he got up again. I'm like, he's going to quit after this one, I promise you. And eventually it happened, and he just couldn't get it. He was gassed. So good win from Spivak. Derek Lewis is, he's getting up there in age. So I'm still going to give all the credit to Spivak. He looked great. He did what he needed to do. I love his fight IQ. He knows what he is. He just get the fighter to the mat and do his work. So like I said, overall, good card. I went 6-4-1 on my picks, and we'll go to my bets here real quick. So here are my bets. Like I said, I had Jung in this little parlay that I really liked and I was confident in, and he looked really bad. The Choi Nelson, I had the under 2.5 in a parlay. It didn't hit, which I was actually surprised, but both guys are pretty durable. Let's see, the Lee and Yi under 2.5 I had. I'm surprised that went under 2, or went over 2.5. So lost that one. And then this little fun parlay at the very bottom. I had Kinoshito inside the distance, and I had Jung inside the distance, which totally didn't happen. They both lost pretty badly. But like I said, with the Tybura, I had by decision. That was a good win. And then the under 2.5 rounds in the Kinoshita if you get fight too. So overall, minus 1.68, still on that little cold streak, like I said. But hopefully this card, I'm going to really focus in on some bets this time. I'm going to play a lot of singles. I might have 1 or 2 parlays, but you're going to notice something different on this card. I'm going to have a lot of single bets here. So get ready. It's coming. So UFC 284, let's get down to the very first fight. But before we do, I'm going to say, look at all of these canceled fights. Robert Whittaker, Pasta would have been great. Pedro was supposed to fight Zhang. Kai Kara France and Alex Perez would have been a great fight on here. There's a lot of guys. Joel Alvarez would have been a good fight there. Nazarat. So there's a lot of guys coming in on short notice and making their UFC debuts for this card. So keep that in mind for your bets, guys. All right, first fight is going to be Zabera Tukhugov. Sorry, I can't even say that. Versus Yves Brenner. Tukhugov is 25-1, 32 years old, 5'8" with a 68-inch reach. And Brenner is 13-3, 25 years old, 5'9", and I'm not sure his reach. So this is going to be a pretty decent fight to start the night off. Tukhugov is a very good grappler and wrestler. He's not the greatest of strikers, but it's serviceable on the feet. He definitely wants to get this fight to the mat. That's his bread and butter, and he tries to work for subs and ground and pound. He's not really a finisher by any means, but he can get the finish, especially if his opponents start to fade with their cardio and they start to gas out. He's gone to a lot of fights by close decisions, so kind of see it kind of happen in the same way here. And with Brenner, he's making his UFC debut. He's taking this fight on short notice as well. He's a very good grappler with okay striking. He does have very good submissions. A lot of his wins have come by submission, a lot of them in the first round as well. And he does like that armbar, guys. 7 out of his 13 wins have come by armbar. So If this fight does get to the mat, he's pretty good on his back. So I do see that happening here, though. And the money line odds are a little bit crazy here. I want to say, yeah, he's a minus 500 favorite. So I'm going to say that's probably due to the short notice you making his UFC debut. The fight Brenner is. So give me Tukhugov to win here. I think he gets those takedowns and stays on top and stays safe. Gets a lot of racks up a lot of control time. If this fight does play out in the feet, it might be a little bit closer because both these guys aren't the greatest strikers, so it kind of cancels each other out. It just depends on maybe who lands the better strike at the time. So, but I see this fight getting to the mat eventually, and I see a decision win for Tukhugov. I can't even say his name. Sorry, guys. But I'm going to look at the over here as well, but I do see a decision win for him. So next fight we have is Blake Bilder versus Shane Young. Uh, Bilder is 7-0-1, 32 years old, 5'8" with a 68.5-inch reach. And Young is 13-6, 29 years old, 5'8" with a 72.5-inch reach. So this is going to be a pretty close fight, I think. Bilder is making his UFC debut as well. He has okay striking. He's got some power in his hands. He can be hittable on the feet as well at times. Solid grappler, decent takedowns with very good submissions. Young is a solid striker as well. He stays at range pretty well. He's got okay power. Not the greatest takedown defense, but that may be a problem in this fight. So it's something to look out for. And he also can be hittable too. So he's this is a, like I said, very interesting fight. And I was kind of going back and forth with this one because the way I see it is if Young can stay on the feet, he's going to have a very, very good chance to win this fight. But if Bilder gets going with his wrestling and grappling, I think he's going to win this one all day. So it's the striker versus grappler here. And I know I like to go the striker here, but you know what? I'm going to change it up. I'm going to go with Bilder here. I think he's going to get those takedowns. I'm not too impressed with Shane Young's takedown defense, and I think he'll be able to work that grappling. Young has never been finished in his or submitted, I'm sorry, in his career. So I think this fight does go decision. It's going to be very close. I can see Young being having success early, like in the first round with his striking, but once I'm sorry, once Bilder starts getting going here, I think he's going to pull away and win by a very close decision. I think from a betting perspective, I'm going to stay away from this fight. Maybe go if you want to bet this one, maybe an underdog with the plus money is always a good thing, or maybe the over. But I think I'm just going to stay away and play it safe on this one. Next fight is going to be Lookboonmee versus Elise Reed. Lookboonmee is 7-3, 27 years old, 5'1" with a 61.5-inch reach. And Reed is 6'2, 30 years old, 5'3" with a 63-inch reach. So for this one, both these fighters are mainly strikers, but Luma is more so a kickboxer. She got very powerful kicks, powerful leg kicks. She likes to push forward. She's really aggressive. She does have some wrestling in her back pocket and takedowns that she can use. We saw that in her last fight. She has some really good ground and pounds, but she got reversed a little too easily. So I think that grappling game is still a work in progress for her. But she's fighting Elise Reed here. She's a pretty good striker herself. She got some power and pop in her hands. She can be hittable as the fight goes on. She doesn't really have a lot of finishing ability. But I love Luma in this spot, especially because Elise Reed's takedown defense is not great. So, like I said, I think Luma is the better striker. I think she's the more aggressive, more dangerous striker. And if she wants to go for those takedowns, I can see her doing that as well and getting those pretty comfortably, if you want to say. And the last couple fights that Reed lost, she lost by ground and pound. So she lost a ground and pound to Sam Hughes when she was mounted, and then she lost to Eubanks went ground and pound as well. So I can see Luma getting the ground and pound knockout here. I know it's a women's MMA fight, and most of them go over 2.5 rounds, but I wouldn't be shocked one bit if Luma gets this knockout by ground and pound. So I'm gonna go Lumo here, and I'm gonna roll the dice and say she does get that knockout, like in the second round or maybe early third round. Um, as much as I don't like betting women's MMA because it's always dicey, you never know. I'm pretty confident in Luma. I might put her in a parlay, like the one or two parlays that I might have for this card. But if not, I'll just probably stay away. I'm not gonna do the over or the under. I can see it go one way or another, but I do like Luma as a minus 270 range favorite here. Next fight is going to be Jack Jenkins versus Don Shainis. Jenkins is 10-2, 29 years old, 5'7 with a 68-inch reach. And Shainis is 12-4, 31 years old, 5'6 with a 67-inch reach. So Jenkins, let's see, he is making his UFC debut as well. He's well rounded. He has good striking and he's got good takedowns and wrestling. A lot of his finishes on his record are against lower level guys. But like I said, this is going to be his UFC debut. So, but he's got good cardio. He can wear on his opponents a little bit. He can grind out decisions. And like I said, he's got good takedowns to do that. And Shainis, he's a powerful striker. He's a tough guy. He does have wrestling too, but he's mainly a striker. He's got a lot of finishes on his record as well in first round knockouts, but they were against lower level guys too. And I believe Shainis's UFC debut was against Sadiq Youssef. That didn't last too long, and we really didn't get to see too much of him. Let's put it that way. So this is going to be another close fight. I know the lines are a little bit wide here. He's a minus 330 favorite or so. Jenkins is, but I'm going to lean Jenkins here. I think this could be a little bit closer than the line says, but I do like Jenkins' skill set a little bit more than Shainis. I think he has the better wrestling. I think the striking is about the same. Maybe Shainis has a little bit more power, but I think Jenkins is going to start using the takedowns early and often, wear down Shainis a little bit as the fight goes on, kind of like he did in his last fight in the Dana White Contender Series against Linares. So, yeah, give me Jenkins here. I'm going to say by decision. From a betting perspective, do I want to put him in a parlay or bet him outright? No, I think this is going to be a closer fight than the line says. I might look at the over. I think the over might hit. But again, I think I'm just going to stay away from this one. I think these are two, I don't want to say lower level guys, but they're low guys. Let's put it that way. Next fight is Jamie Mullarkey versus Francisco Prado. Mullarkey is 15-5, 28 years old, 6 foot with a 74-inch reach. And Prado is 11-0, 20 years old, 5'10, and we'll say 71-inch reach. So this is going to be a pretty fun fight too. Mullarkey's pretty well-rounded fighter. He's got solid striking. He's got pretty solid grappling and wrestling. He doesn't really have the greatest submission ability on the mat, but he does have power in his hands. He can be hittable. He's very tough though. He likes to give one to take one, if you want to say. And he just leaves himself open to counters a lot when he rushes in. So that's something to look out for. And Prado's making his UFC debut. Who would have thought? And he is taking this fight on short notice. He's a super young guy. Like I said, he's at 20 years old. He's pretty well rounded too. He's not the most technical striker on the feet, but he's got good power. And he does have a lot of submission wins. And he does have good wrestling and grappling. And in all of his wins, he's got a finish in 11 of his wins. So all of his wins, like I said, have been by finish. And 10 out of those 11 wins have been under 1.5 rounds. So definitely look at that prop when you look at this fight if you want to bet it. Like I said, I think there is going to be a finish here, but I'm going to go with the guy with a little bit more UFC experience. And I think he has the more technical striking as well on the feet. And I'm going to go with Mullarkey. Like I said, he's tough. He might get rocked once, maybe twice during the fight, but he always seems to get back up and he recovers real quick. And I do think he's going to get the knockout later in the fight, maybe second or third round. I think Prado's going to really try to get that first round finish. That's what he used to do, or he's used to doing. And once he doesn't get it, he's going to gas himself out a bit. And I think Mullarkey will take over from there. Maybe get the standing knockout on the feet. Like I said, he's not the really greatest submission ability, but maybe he can get that rear naked choke or something. Like I said, for the betting perspective, if you want to bet this fight, I like the under 2.5 right now. So that is what I would probably do for this fight. All right, next fight is going to be Clayton Rodrigues versus Shannon Ross. Rodrigues is 7-2, 27 years old, 5'6", with a 67-inch reach. Ross is 13-6, 33 years old, 5'6", with a 66-inch reach. So this is going to be a pretty fun fight. I think it might not go to the judges' scorecards, if you want to say, but Rodrigues is a very good technical striker. He's high volume, solid wrestling and grappling, but he's a striker first. Very good power as well, and he does have good sneaky submissions too in in the grappling. Ross is making his UFC debut. He's pretty well rounded. He's a good wrestler and striker. He's high volume as well. He likes to push forward. He's kind of aggressive, but he's very, very hittable. So this is not a good thing for Ross for me, unless he wants to try to use that wrestling, because Rodrigues' takedown defense isn't amazing. It's not awful, but I think he can be taken down. We saw that in the fight against CJ Vergara. So, but I'm gonna go with Rodrigues here. I think he's the more talented guy on the feet. And if this fight does get to the mat, he always tries to get up. He doesn't accept being on his back. He could get some reversals as well. He's pretty slick at that. He showed that in the last fight too against Vergara. And yeah, I think Ross is just a little too hittable, and he can potentially, and Rodrigues can potentially get that knockout here. So I'm gonna say though, this fight does go to decision, even though I just said that. Um, Ross is pretty tough, and I know Rodrigues is tough too. I think they're going to try to go for it in the first round, and then whoever doesn't get, if this fight gets to the second round, I think it will go to decision, because these guys are going to start slowing down a bit, and I think Rodrigues will be the victor. He'll have just a little bit more gas and a little bit more technicality, and maybe get some takedowns of his own and get some control time. So with my pick, I'm going to go Rodrigues to win this one by decision. From a betting perspective, I would maybe look at Rodrigues money line, maybe look at him in a parlay, or if you want to maybe do the over or under if you like one way or another. But I may add him in a parlay, I may not. We'll see. I'm not 100% sure. I know a lot of people are on Rodrigues, and I totally get it. But I think this fight will be a little closer than the line says. But I still like Rodrigues. Next fight, Joshua Culibao versus Melsik Baghdasaryan. Sorry. Culibao is 10-1-1, 28 years old, 5'10", with a 73-inch reach. And Baghdasaryan is 7-1, 31 years old, 5'9", with a 70-inch reach. So this is going to be a very, very close fight. And the odds say it. This is pretty much a pick 'em, I believe. Culibao is a solid striker. He's got good power. He likes to push forward. He's got clean, straight punches, good boxing. He does have okay leg kicks as well. He does have some grappling, but he doesn't really use it that often. He's more so a striker. And Baghdasaryan, also a very good striker. He's got good power as well, good kicks. He's high volume, especially early in the fight. And not a grappler either. Doesn't have the greatest takedown defense either, but I don't think he has to worry too much about it. Maybe later in the fight if Culibao wants to try to mix in some takedowns here and there. But like I said, this is a close fight, and I can see it kind of go either way. But just going off of both of these guys' last fights, I was more impressed with Culibao striking than Baghdasaryan. And I know Baghdasaryan is very dangerous. But like I said, his last fight, I believe it was against Bruno Souza. Not He didn't really look that great. But Culibao looked really good against Choi. So I'm gonna go with ever so slightly Culibao to win this one. I think it's going to be a very close decision win. Both these guys are tough. They're durable. I did notice too that Baghdasaryan does fade a little bit as the fight goes on. So give me Culibao to win this one by decision, but very close fight. I think I'm probably just going to stay away from this, even though I'm going to watch it though. If I can get Culibao plus money, I might be tempted, but if not, I'm just going to stay away. This is a close one. Next fight is Tyson Pedro versus let's see, Modestas Bukauskas. Man, these names are tougher this week. Pedro is 9-3, 31 years old, 6'3" with a 79-inch reach. And Bukauskas is 13-5, 29 years old, 6'3" with a 78-inch reach. So the return of Bukauskas. So he had to go into the regional scene a bit, and then he came back up for this fight. They finally brought him back. So Pedro is a solid striker with power. He's more so a grappler, wrestler kind of guy, though. But in his last couple fights, he showed some good knockout ability. I don't want to give him a lot of credit because it was against Harry Hunsucker and Ike Villanueva. We all know that those guys are not that great. So, but he's got solid grappling. His takedowns can be a little sloppy at times, but once he does get his fighter or opponent to the mat, he's got good submissions and he's got good ground and pound. Bukauskas is a solid striker, very good power as well. He doesn't really go for takedowns. He's more so a striker. So, but he does have good takedown defense. But the thing about him though is he can be hittable at times, and he's not the greatest if he's being pushed back. So if he's on his back foot and he's trying to strike, he's not that great. So, I like Pedro here. I think this is kind of a weird fight in general. Um, Something I would look at though is the under here. I think both these guys are finishers, and I think someone might get finished. But I'm gonna go with my pick. I'm gonna go Pedro to win this one. I'm not too sure if this fight gets to the mat, but on the feet, I think Pedro is going to be one pushing forward. He's going to be using his leg kicks. He's got very good leg kicks, very strong ones. So that's going to slow down Bukauskas here. And yeah, give me Pedro here. It's going to be a closer fight, I think, than the line says as well. And I do think one of these guys is going to get knocked out, maybe under 2.5 just to be safe. So that's something, if you're looking at it from a betting perspective, it's probably set at 1.5. I didn't really look. So maybe instead of doing Pedro money line, maybe try to do the under instead. But if you like the underdog here, I don't think it's a bad play. I think it's got a shot. But I think Pedro is going to be the aggressor, if you want to say, and he's gonna be one pushing back Bukauskas here. So give me Pedro by let's say late first, early second round knockout. All right, main card here. We got Jimmy Crute versus Alonzo Menifield. Jimmy Crute is 12-3, 26 years old, 6'2", with a 74-inch reach. And Menifield is 13-3, 35 years old, 6 foot, with a 76-inch reach. So this is going to be a very interesting fight. Crute is very well-rounded. He's got good wrestling and takedowns. He's got pretty good striking and power on the feet. But I will say he is very hittable. He leaves himself open to a lot of strikes, and his head movement is zero. It's zero head movement, guys. And I'm worried that his chin is a little bit suspect after his last fight against Jamal Hill here. He got brutally KO'd, and I know he got injured in that Anthony Smith fight, so he's been taking a lot of damage here. And I'm a little worried about his chin, I'll admit it. And Menifield is a powerful striker with tons of power. He's very dangerous early. He does have solid wrestling and takedowns if he wants to use it, but if he does, it seems like he does gas out a little bit quicker than he usually does. He also has very, very good takedown defense, which I think in this fight, that's going to be key for Menifield, because if I was Crute, and what I think he's going to do, he's going to try to get this fight to the mat. I don't think he's going to want to try to strike with Menifield because of that power, and he just got knocked out like that. And if Menifield can stop a couple of those takedowns early, I think he's going to get this knockout. So with my pick, I'm going to go Menifield at the underdog here. I think he's going to land that bomb in the first round or maybe early second round, and I think Crute's going to go down. I mean, we've seen his chin. We've seen him go down with some not great strikes recently, and yeah, I think it's going to happen again. Ever since Menifield fought, let me see, Askar Mazarov, dude, something switched in him, and he has looked like a monster. And I know it's Misha Serkinov, and it's a shell of his former self. But this guy, if he keeps that same aggression and game plan against Crute, I think the same thing can happen to Crute because I think Crute's going to be a little scared. He's not going to want to jump in there and brawl it out with this guy. So he's going to use his wrestling. But give me a Menifield. I'm going to take a little shot on this one. For a betting perspective, if you like Menifield, I think the money line's a great line. Maybe do the KO prop for him as well. Or if you like the under, which I believe it's set at 1.5, close to a pick 'em. That could be something if you think Crute can maybe get Menifield out of there. I think if there is a finish under 1.5, it's going to be Menifield. So if you're on the Crute side, maybe the over will be the way to go. Because I can see Menifield maybe even winning over 1.5 too. So, but with my pick here, I'm going to go Menifield by knockout. I think he gets it done in the first round, unfortunately for Crute. So I could be wrong. I know Menifield's a pretty decent size underdog at minus 180 range, or I'm sorry, plus 190 range. So it should be a pretty fun fight. Next fight is going to be Justin Tafa versus Parker Porter. Tafa is 5'3", 29 years old, 6 foot with a 74-inch reach. And Parker Porter is 7, 37 years old, 6 foot with a 75-inch reach. So Tafa is a powerful striker, very powerful leg kicks and just body kicks in general, even high kicks, very durable. He's kind of low volume at times until he gets into that brawl that he wants to do. Then he'll just go all for it. Doesn't really have a ground game at all. He's pretty much a stand and bang kind of guy, kind of like Tai Tuivasa, if you want to say. Porter is well-rounded. He's got solid striking. He likes to push forward. He's got good grappling and wrestling. Good clinch up against the cage. He's got good cardio for a heavyweight. And yeah, on the feet, this might be close. Obviously, Porter's going to have to be careful with those leg kicks and body kicks from Tafa because, like I said, they're very powerful. But for me, if Porter is going to have the grappling and wrestling advantage for sure in this fight, and I think he's going to be able to use some of that. And I hope he does anyway. So if he does, I think he's going to be able to get the win here, actually. Tafa's best chance is to stay at range and just pick him apart. But I think he's just too low volume. I don't think, and Porter is usually a pretty durable guy unless you get him on the ground. And there's no way Tafa's going to get him to the ground. So I like Porter here to get the upset. Both these guys, like I said, are pretty durable. And I like the over as well. I think this goes to decision. I think Porter wins by decision. It's going to be close, maybe 29-28. But I think Porter is just a little bit more well-rounded. He might have a little bit better fight IQ, if you want to say, than Tafa. And he might throw more volume as well and just outstrike Tafa. I mean, Tafa might land the harder strikes, but I think Porter will mix in the takedowns and maybe outstrike him. And another thing that I kind of is like just a little bit of a red flag for me is Tafa lost to Jared Vandera by decision. Let that sink in, guys. Let that sink in. So give me Porter to win by decision. From a betting perspective, maybe Porter money line or just stay away. Porter by decision if you want to get a little bit riskier, but we'll see as the week goes on. Maybe I'll throw a little underdog bet on Porter, but if not, I'm okay with staying away from this fight. I don't want to say this is a low level heavyweight fight, but it kind of is. Let's be honest. This is going to be one of the fights that I'm looking forward to. Randy Brown versus Jack Della Maddalena. Brown is 16-4, 32 years old, 6'3" with a 78-inch reach. And Maddalena is 13-2, 26 years old, 5'11" with a 73-inch reach. So right off the bat, you see a 4-inch height difference and then a 5-inch reach advantage for Brown. And that might help him out a lot. So Brown is well-rounded, very good technical striking. He stays at range very well. He can grapple and take the back quickly when they're standing up against the cage. He does have decent wrestling too, like I said. Good kicks from range. He's got power in his hands. His takedown defense is pretty solid. He's very hard to get down. And the one little red flag with me though is if he starts getting in the groove or if he starts doing really good, he keeps his hands low. He starts doing a little bit of bragging, or not bragging, but like showboating a little bit. And I just don't like that when fighters do that like in the ring. I don't care outside the ring. You can do whatever you want, but not inside while you're fighting some guy. And I'm very high on Jack, and I know a lot of people are. He's got amazing boxing with tons of power in his hands. It seems like he throws 75% power in all of his strikes, but they land with like 100% power. It's just very smooth right down the pipe. He has good body shots as well. Um, got solid takedown defense. It's not the greatest. I don't think he's going to have to use it too much unless maybe Brown's in trouble. He's got pretty decent defensive grappling. We saw in the Ameev fight. He looked like he might have was going to get submitted. Then he remained calm and composed. He got out of that choke, and then he ended up getting the finish after that. So that's something good to see from him. But yeah, like I said, I know everyone's high on Jack, and that's probably why this line's a little wide. It's minus 310. Um, I do think Jack Della Maddalena wins this fight. I do think that line is a little wide though, because Randy Brown's solid. Like this is the biggest step up in competition for Jack here. I mean, Danny Roberts really isn't great. Ameev, not the greatest. Pete Rodrigues, not that great. And then Lusa, I mean, that was a Dana White contender too. So this is a huge step up for him. I still think he gets the job done, but I think it's going to be a little bit closer. But give me Jack Della Maddalena, and I'm going to say by knockout. I know I said it's going to be close, but it's going to be close early. But I think Jack's going to find that knockout shot. This guy has unreal power, and I love his boxing. But there's a chance that Brown, if he uses his grappling, maybe slows him down a bit early on. Maybe he can drag this fight in the later rounds and maybe get this fight to decision. And you never know what's going to happen. So, but with my pick, I'm going to go, like I said, Jack Della Maddalena by knockout. From a betting perspective, maybe throw Jack. If you like Jack, throw him in a parlay. I don't know if I would bet him a single at minus 310, or if you just want to try doing the knockout prop for Jack, that's something you could do. Or if you're really high on Brown, I mean, he's the underdog plus 250. Throw a little half unit on that. I think that's a pretty good bet. You never know what's going to happen. So that's what I would do for that one. This is going to be a really good fight. Co-main event. It's going to be Yair Rodrigues versus Josh Emmett. Rodrigues is 14-3, 30 years old, 5'11", with a 71-inch reach. Chicago guy made good. And Josh Emmett is 18-2, 37 years old, 5'6", with a 70-inch reach. So you can see right there, there's going to be a huge height difference. And Emmett is very short. I saw him in Austin at barbecue place after the fight, and I'm only 5'9", and I was like, dang, this guy's short. But yeah, this is going to be a really, really good fight. Both these guys are mainly strikers. I would say Yair is the more I don't want to say unorthodox, but he's a little bit more diverse with his striking. He's got spinning attacks, he's got good kicks, good high kicks. He's very durable as well. Good volume. He has an okay ground game, pretty good grappling if he does get taken down. He doesn't really go for takedowns. He definitely wants to keep this fight on the feet. So, and Emmett, we all know he's probably one of the more powerful guys in the featherweight division, if not the most powerful guy. He can knock you out with one shot. He's got very good boxing. He's very durable as well. Good cardio. I In some of his fights, though, as the fight goes on, especially like the 5-round fight against Cater, he was slowing down a bit with his output, but he wasn't like gassed. So he just kind of slowed down with that low volume. So definitely something to think about. But like I said, when he lands hard, and you're going to see it on Yair's face that he's going to land some good shots. But as I said, this is going to be a very good fight, and I could see this go either way. I don't blame anybody for taking either guy here. I'm gonna go ever so slightly with Yair here. I just like his striking a little bit more. I think he can outstrike Emmett for 5 rounds. Maybe Emmett looks good early, but I think as the fight goes on, like I said, Emmett's output kind of slows down, especially in the 4th and 5th rounds. And I think Yair can win those rounds especially. So it just depends on if Yair can win like maybe 1 or 2 rounds of rounds 1 and 3. And I think he can do that. I think, and I'll be one to say, like I said, I was at UFC Austin live. I thought Kattar won that fight. It was close. I just thought Kattar landed more strikes. And if you looked at both of their faces, I believe Kattar landed the more damage and accumulative damage as well. So again, that was in the past. It's all good now. Good win from Emmett. But with my pick, gonna go Yair here. I think this goes to decision. Like I said, both these guys are very durable. And I can see like a 48-47 decision. Probably going to stay away from this one betting. I'll watch the line and see where it goes. If Yair does get closer to a pick 'em, which I honestly think it might. I think there's going to be a lot of Josh Emmett love as the week goes on, because especially since he's an underdog. What is he, minus 140? Yeah. I'm sorry, plus 140 underdog. That's a good bet. I mean, I think this is a 50-50 fight or pretty close to it. So if I can get Yair maybe like around minus 130, kind of like Ty Burrow did last week, I'm probably going to pull the trigger on this and maybe hope for the best. And the main event that everybody wants to see, including me, is Makhachev versus Alexander Volkanovski. Makhachev is 23-1. He is 31 years old, 5'10", with a 70.5-inch reach. And Volkanovski is 25-1, 34 years old, 5'6", with a 71.5-inch reach. He actually has 1 inch more, but he's 4 inches smaller. And you can definitely tell he is the smaller guy if you saw them face off against each other or in the same picture, if you want to say. But we all know this is going to be an epic fight. Pound for pound, number 1, pound for pound, number 2 right now. Islam is a monster. He's got great wrestling, great takedowns. He's massive for 155. And just so I'm sure everybody knows this, but this is going to be at lightweight. It's not going to be at featherweight where Volkanovski is a champion. So he's moving on up. Islam does have good power in his hands. His striking looked improved in his last fight against Oliveira. And he is, like I said, he's got good power in his hands, good cardio, and very good submissions once he gets that fight to the mat. He's basically good everywhere. I mean, if I had to give him one little red flag, it would maybe be his technical striking on the feet. Other than that, but he doesn't really need it. He can just get this fight to the mat, and that's where he's going to win a lot of his fights. So if that's his only weakness, I mean, sky's the limit for this guy. And Volkanovski is another monster here. He's very well rounded. I love his boxing. He's super technical with his boxing. He's got very good counters. He's very, very quick hands as well. Good wrestling. He's very durable. If he does get taken down, like he's got very good grappling defense, as we saw in the Ortega fight. He is not gonna tap. I don't know how he didn't tap that fight. It's like it still amazes me. I had a bet on Ortega to win. I thought I got that bet, and I still remember that. And I was like, this is unreal. So that's why he's the champion. He's pound for pound number 1. But like I said, this is gonna be an epic fight. But I'm gonna go. I learned my lesson, guys. Last fight against Oliveira, I was so high on Oliveira. I'm going to go Makhachev here. I like Volkanovski as a fighter. I just think Islam's going to be too big. Like, you notice how big he is. He's a massive 155er already. And Volkanovski's not the biggest featherweight. I mean, he might be wider than a lot of featherweights, but he's not the biggest. And you'll see a noticeable difference when they're in the ring together of how big Islam is going to be. And I think eventually he's going to get Volkanovski down to the mat. It's gonna be tougher than usual, than what probably Islam is used to, I should say. But once he does, he's going to stay on top. It's going to be tough for Volkanovski to give up. He might be able to survive and not get submitted, and then start over in the next round, which I do think is going to happen more times than not. But on the feet, I think it's going to be close, and I might give Volkanovski the slight advantage on the feet. But wrestling, grappling, submissions, got to give that to Makhachev, and I think that does happen more times than not. I'm going to say this fight goes to decision. Both these guys are very tough. I think Volkanovski was he finished once and that was a long time ago. Yeah, 2013 he was finished. And if I remember correctly, yeah, it was at welterweight. So that's right when he first started here. He's never been finished in any of his UFC wins here, and which is crazy. So yeah, I think this fight goes to decision. It's going to be a very, very good fight. Betting perspective, if you like Volkanovski, take a shot at plus 300. Why not? I do like the overs in this fight, whether it's 2.5, 3.5. I think that hits. It might be sweaty, but I think it does hit. And if you like Islam, I think he's super safe in a parlay. So he might be in my parlay that I do, or one of them. So that's what I got for this one. Going to be a great fight. Can't wait for it. But that is all for UFC 284, or UFC Perth, if you want to say. But yeah, those are my picks and predictions, like I said, and the bets that I do like for every fight. So hopefully you guys watch all of the fights at the very end. You can see which bets I like, if I like the overs or the money lines, or if I would stay away. But thank you for watching. Please make sure you hit that like button for me on your way out. Make sure you check my Instagram and Twitter throughout the week. I do post all of my bets throughout the week that I do. I post all my bet slips, so that way you know I'm actually betting these fights. I'm not just saying I'm doing it. Also, don't forget to tune in this week, Thursday, for me and Cody's live stream. It's going to be on my channel this week, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern time, as always, on Thursday night. And we're also going to probably do another pre-fight show for this one. It's probably going to be Friday night. I will let everybody know before that, though, just in case if it's not. We'll have a couple other MMA guys on there as usual and have some fun too. So, like I said, thank you everybody for watching. I hope everybody enjoys the fights this weekend, and I think this will be a pretty decent card, especially the main event. So, until next time, happy fight night.